Hey there. So, you're looking to really level up your IELTS vocabulary, right? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to dive into some incredible high-level collocations, all through the amazing story of how Manhattan's skyscrapers came to be. Let's jump right in.
So, right off the bat, you can see we're using some really powerful vocabulary here. We're not just saying the buildings changed the city, we're saying they shaped the skyline. We're not talking about city growth, but massive urban development. And we aren't just looking at the past, but its detailed history. You see? These are the kinds of phrases that really make a difference. And that's the big question, isn't it? The language used to tell this story. Well, it's exactly the kind of academic, descriptive language that IELTS examiners are listening for. So let's break it down and see how you can start using it yourself. Okay, first up, let's look at the language of the foundation. I mean, before a single skyscraper went up, there had to be a plan, a blueprint for the entire city. These words are perfect for describing that initial stage. We're going to look at three key phrases here: how to describe an interesting story as a fascinating account, how to talk about the city's layout with grid system, and, my personal favorite, a brilliant idiom for cause and effect, set the stage for. Now, what's so great about this phrase is just how versatile it is. You know, just like Manhattan's early planning set the stage for its incredible growth, you can use this for pretty much any topic where one thing creates the right conditions for something else to happen. In this case, the internet's the cause, and that revolution in communication, that's the effect. And this is why it's a real game changer for your writing. If you're in an essay talking about technology or history or social change, using set the stage for shows the examiner you can think about complex relationships. It's a huge step up from just saying it caused. So the blueprint is down, but skyscrapers aren't just about cool architecture. They're about money. Big money. This next group of phrases will help you talk about the powerful economic forces that drive these massive projects. We've got some fantastic economic vocabulary coming up. We're talking about business clusters, think Silicon Valley, why wealthy neighborhoods are part of the story, the main goal of any investor, which is, of course, to maximize return on investment, and that classic principle, supply and demand. This phrase is pure gold for any business discussion. It's so specific, so professional, and it gets right to the heart of the matter. It just means getting the most profit you possibly can from the money you put in. For those developers in Manhattan, this was everything. It's why they kept building higher and higher. So here's the bottom line for you. If you get an essay question about business, globalization, or the role of corporations, dropping in a phrase like maximize return on investment instantly shows you have a sophisticated understanding of the topic. Okay, here's another fantastic tool for your essays. At first glance. It's what you say to introduce an idea that seems pretty simple on the surface, right before you reveal that it's actually much more complicated. It basically tells your reader, hold on, there's more to the story. And this is a perfect example of how to use it. You see, at first glance, clearing away old, poor-quality housing seems like a great idea, right? But then you use this phrase to introduce the other side of the coin, that these policies had a really serious negative impact on the people who actually lived there. It just screams critical thinking. You know, every great story has some conflict, and building skyscrapers was packed with incredible challenges and some equally incredible solutions. This section gives you the exact language you need to describe that classic problem-solution dynamic. First, you've got to be able to name the problem. What was holding things back? The perfect term for this is a limiting factor. It's such a clear academic way to identify an obstacle. So what was the big limiting factor for building tall? Believe it or not, it was the walls themselves. To support a tall building, old-fashioned load-bearing walls had to be ridiculously thick at the bottom, which just ate up way too much valuable space on the ground floor. And for every problem, you hope for a solution. In this story, the solution came in the form of technological advances. This is such a key phrase for any discussion about progress and innovation, whether you're talking about buildings, medicine, or computers. So the big aha moment was the steel frame. This single technological advance meant the building's skeleton, not the walls, could carry all the weight. This completely solved the limiting factor of thick walls and directly led to a massive building boom, a huge, rapid period of construction that created the skyline we know and love today. All right, let's talk about cost for a second. Sometimes the word expensive just doesn't cut it, you know? When something costs so much that it actually stops you from being able to buy it, the perfect phrase you're looking for is prohibitively high.
And just so you know, this is a top-tier C2 level phrase. Using this correctly in your exam to talk about the cost of housing or education or healthcare, well, that's a clear signal to the examiner that you have a really advanced command of English. It makes them sit up and pay attention. Okay, wow, we have covered a lot of ground. So now it's time for a super quick review to really lock these phrases into your brain. Let's run through all 20 collocations and their meanings one more time.
All right, let's get the first 10 locked in. We have detailed history, a thorough account of the past. Business clusters, those are groups of similar companies. To influence a city's look is to have shaped the skyline. The growth of cities is urban development. A really interesting story is a fascinating account. A street pattern of right angles, that's a grid system. Creating conditions for something is to set the stage for it. Then we have economic analysis, slum clearance, and finally, a limiting factor, which is a constraint or restriction.
And here are the final 10 to complete your toolkit. At first glance means based on an initial look. Wealthy neighborhoods are where rich people live. To get the most profit possible is to maximize return on investment. New developments in tech are technological advances. Walls that support a building are load-bearing walls. Light from the sun is simply natural light. If something's too expensive, it's prohibitively high. A period of rapid construction is a building boom. An economic principle of price is supply and demand. And last but not least, recommendations for action are policy suggestions. So let's wrap this up with a challenge that puts it all together. With all this new vocabulary at your fingertips, what kind of policy suggestions would you make for the future of urban development? Think about it. Now you truly have the words to build your own powerful arguments. You've got this.